Well, thank you very much for having me here. It's such an honor every time I get the opportunity to speak about my work. I'm a multidisciplinary professional with more than 15 years experience across marketing, trade, and investment promotion and facilitation. And for the past 7 years, I've specialized in the tech and green economy. My work has focused on helping businesses and investors enter new markets, secure funding, form strategic partnerships, and navigate complex regulatory environments. In my previous role at Westgrow, I helped facilitate billions in green investments into the Western Cape province of South Africa. I've also made significant contributions in shaping the Western Cape's green hydrogen strategy and have contributed to the creation of market intelligent publications like the CEO's Guide to Going Solar, the CEO's Guide to Water Resilience, and 10 Reasons to Invest in the Green Hydrogen Economy. All to help businesses, investors, and policymakers to make more informed decisions in a rapidly evolving sustainability landscape. Beyond strategy and investment work, I've served and serve on advisory boards for several major industry events, including the Africa Green Economy Summit, the DVEC Hydrogen Summit, and IFAT, which is Africa's leading environmental trade fair. In these roles, I've helped curate high-impact discussions, connect global investors with African opportunities, and ensure that these platforms drive tangible outcomes from unlocking funding to forging critical partnerships. But really, at the heart of my work is my passion for supporting impact-driven founders. I enjoy helping entrepreneurs to navigate the complexities of the green economy, and whether that's accessing resources, funding, or strategic networks, or just helping them to accelerate their growth. And to sort of continue this work, I've recently started a climate content studio and consultancy called the Cool Mangrove, which is dedicated to empowering and supporting founders and leaders in the green economy to successfully grow their businesses. And ultimately, my mission is really to help shape a more resilient and inclusive and sustainable future by enabling the people and the businesses that drive that change. Always seeking investors. Investors are very, very much welcome because we are at a point where we need to scale. But the Cool Mangrove is a climate content studio and consultancy. We're focused on supporting green founders and their startups that are in the growth stage, and they're looking to either build visibility, attract investors, or inspire trust through storytelling. So through our different platforms, such as podcasts, YouTube, newsletter, LinkedIn, we help founders to tell their personal and business story in a powerful and authentic way. We help them increase visibility to attract investors, customers, or media coverage, and build credibility and thought leadership in sustainability and startup ecosystem, and to humanize their impact and inspire trust through storytelling. We're also working on creating a dedicated hub for climate tech founders, linking them to capital, to partners, support systems, linking them to key private and government programs, and more. So if you're a green founder with a startup that is ready to scale and you're working on some super cool sustainable solutions, you're the type of person we want to chat to. So reach out. Well, there's been a number of things, and perhaps in the last 10 years, but I want to highlight just a few. First, I want to point out the rise of on-demand content audiences, especially younger generations. They're no longer relying on traditional media for information. There's been a massive move towards digital platforms, massive move towards short-form videos, podcasting, and like more interactive content. And people are overloaded with information every day, and they have limited time, so they gravitate towards platforms that distill complex topics like sustainability and the SDGs, and kind of distill them into accessible formats. And this demand for clarity and convenience has opened up a space for specialized platforms like ours that simplify and contextualize information. There's also been an explosion in climate tech solutions, from clean energy and water resilience to circular economy, regenerative agriculture, you name it. And more founders are entering the green economy, but many of them lack the network, the visibility, the market intelligence that they need to scale. So this surge of innovation has kind of created a demand for platforms that amplify green founders, that connect them to investors and kind of help them navigate a rapidly evolving ecosystem. And then there's Africa's young and fast-growing population, which is increasingly entrepreneurial and tech-driven. And many are building climate solutions, but they kind of lack that exposure, the market access, and the demographics shift has created demand for digital communities like the Cool Mangrove that spotlight African innovation and can connect them to each other and position them for global opportunities. And the last one I want to mention is perhaps the growth in climate tech investments requiring a stronger pipeline. With climate tech emerging as one of the fastest growing investment sectors, investors are now actively seeking or searching for credible pipelines of early stage climate solutions. And this funding boom has kind of highlighted the need for platforms that curate and that validate and elevate high potential green startups, making the ecosystem more visible and investable. Yeah, these developments are absolutely critical for Africa because they directly shape our ability to build, to fund, to scale the next generation of climate solutions. The continent is already experiencing the impact of climate change more intensely more intensely and earlier than other regions. So our founders are not innovating for a distant future. They building the solutions for immediate everyday realities, things that are happening right now. In the shift toward digital, the rise in climate tech investment and Africa's young entrepreneurial population kind of create a once in a generation opportunity to position the continent as a global hub for green innovation. But to fully capitalize on this momentum, we need a few things. I think we need to build a strong support system for our green founders. Africa doesn't have a shortage of climate innovators. What we do lack is visibility, investor readiness, and practical guidance. And so we must invest in digital platforms, founder communities, knowledge hubs that equip these startups with tools, insights, and networks they need to grow. And this is exactly where the Cool Mangrove comes in. And this is exactly where we can make a meaningful contribution. The second is maybe strengthening that bridge between policy, market, and entrepreneurship. Climate change policies are constantly evolving, so we need to translate them into more practical, founder-friendly insights to help entrepreneurs to identify opportunities, navigate these challenges, and drive impact. But the third one I maybe want to mention is unlocking more African capital for African climate solutions. And international investment is growing, but local capital is still limited. So to truly scale, the continent needs to mobilize more local investors, more DFIs, corporate and government programs, just to back early stage climate innovators. When founders have access to smart capital, they can test, they can grow, they can commercialize solutions much faster. But funding needs to be tailor-made for Africa. Example, offering longer timelines, more patient capital, blended finance models, and support for navigating regulatory and infrastructure challenges that are unique to Africa. And lastly, using storytelling and digital platforms to amplify African innovation. There are incredible climate founders that we have, but they remain invisible, especially to global investors. And this is why it's important to kind of build a platform that showcases African innovators, helps them tell their stories, and connect them to opportunities. Visibility is really not a luxury; it's a growth strategy. I must say, someone with insight into climate innovation pipeline in Africa, I'm optimistic. There are challenges, yes, but the issue isn't that we lack sustainable solutions or substitutes for most of the emission problems that we have. With the exception of a few, such as aviation, which remains a tricky sector to decarbonize, We already have technologies at various readiness levels that can make a meaningful impact. The real challenge, though, lies in scaling these innovations, and particularly in Africa, especially, moving from an idea to impact requires significant resources. It requires a supportive ecosystem and the right enabling environment. And this is exactly why platforms like the Cool Mangroves are so important. They make knowledge accessible, they amplify their founder stories, they connect them to opportunities, and help climate innovation to grow in a fast changing world. Yeah. Yeah. I truly believe AI, definitely, artificial intelligence is one of the most exciting technological shifts in climate right now, and in anything right now. The biggest advantage is speed, right? So AI can analyze huge amounts of data, model risks, it can optimize energy systems and so forth, and it can support faster decision making for founders working on climate solutions. And for early stage teams, it's beneficial because it can reduce cost by optimizing research, content, and operational tasks, which is critical in a resource constrained market like Africa. But the challenge is that AI's potential is growing much faster than our ability to use it responsibly. So many African countries still lack that high quality climate data, which limits how powerful AI tools can be here. There's a real risk of widening inequality. Larger organizations can access advanced AI tools more easily than smaller startups. So we can't ignore, and then we can't ignore the energy footprint of AI itself. So AI is both an opportunity and a responsibility. So if we improve data availability, ensure fair access, and build greener computing infrastructure, it can dramatically accelerate climate innovation across the continent. My vision for Africa's green economy is one where climate solutions are created by Africans for Africa. Too often we see Western technologies being retrofitted to fit our context, and instead of solutions being designed from the start with our realities, ecosystems, and communities in mind, Africa sort of has the talent, the creativity, and the lived experience to build original climate innovations that work here and that can scale globally. I want to see a continent where local founders are supported, they're funded, and they're celebrated for being climate solutions, for building climate solutions rooted in African knowledge systems and kind of having African problems and African possibilities in mind. A future where our entrepreneurs aren't adopting someone else's blueprint, but they're setting the blueprint for what a resilient, low carbon, and inclusive economy looks like for Africa. And yeah, I really hope to live to see it. I want to highlight the power of local founders, local knowledge, and context specific innovation. My role at the summit is really to make sure that these voices are heard, their stories are amplified, and their ideas are taken seriously. Through the Cool Mangrove, we're showing that storytelling isn't a nice to have, it's a strategic tool, and it helps founders to attract capital, inspire trust, and kind of scale their climate impact. Events like Aegis is essential. I think Africa has no shortage of brilliant climate innovators, but many lack that visibility. They lack a network and the right connection to move from idea to impact. So the summit creates that rare space where founders and investors and policymakers and different stakeholders can kind of meet in the same room. Which is exactly what we need to accelerate meaningful progress, and it allows Africa to kind of set its own agenda, showcase its own solutions, and shift the narrative away from dependency and more towards opportunity and leadership. Just that Africa isn't behind. We are already innovating. We're in there. We just need more support, more trust in African-led solutions. And if we back our own founders, we can shape a green economy that truly works for us. And also that I hope to see all of you at the Africa Green Economy Summit next year. And I hope to network with as many of you as possible. Let's, meet up and exchange ideas and kind of move the continent towards a more sustainable one. Thank you.